Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, and then the second one was kind of related to that, because it says that they're supposed to like check for broken parts on the picnic areas and the pavilions to see if they're in good repair and things of that nature. So again, how long does it take, or how long should we expect if there's things at the pavilion that's not in good repair, that broke, the benches are cracked or noticeably like have been bent from I don't know how they've been park benches, but I've seen some bent. So how long does that, what is that?
So thank you again for this next question. So now that we're coming out of a season of restrictive budgets, um, we're having a little bit more flexibility with funding, and so that's a blessing, if you would. So when those issues are made known through like a CRM, so that's basically when you go through like the app that we have through our city. Once we're notified, I'm expecting my staff to assess those issues that same week, within a few days or less, but that same week, and then to secure the area. So there may be, say, like a bench that was vandalized or, like you said, bent, and they need to assess it, and they need to say, okay, look, do we need to secure the area with cones, with caution tape? What is it that we need to do in the meantime? And then the next step is, okay, what is the cost? How do we secure the benches? Or is this a situation where this is an ongoing issue of vandalism or what have you? And if so, we've made some decisions out there to completely remove the bench until a further time, because it's become like a security issue or a safety issue. And so if you're not hearing back on a CRM request, within the next week, again, I would like to know. When I came to Public Works, we had literally hundreds of requests. And so me coming in as a manager, we've been cleaning up processes. We've been cleaning up our response times. And as of today, we're around 20 open requests, which is pretty remarkable. It doesn't mean that there's not more problems out there in the parks, but we're responding a little bit faster and better. And so part of the reason why we've been having more success is because most of our parks staff were assigned for some years to the quality of life. So basically, they're picking up homeless encampments and not focusing in on parks. And so part of the privilege that I had was to bring accountability to our contractors and then bring back our staffing to actually go in and inspect our parks and oversee the contractors. And so this morning, had a great conversation about expectations and turnaround times, deadlines, repairs with our contractors. And so we're making some great enhancements there. But again, if you're not hearing back within the next week that we're working on it or that what we're expecting to do, please let me know. As far as the turnaround time on available benches, our contractors or vendors that we have, sometimes they have them in stock and sometimes they don't have it in stock, meaning parts or a whole new bench. And so we're literally getting materials and supplies that are being shipped from across the country or even from overseas to the distribution of our vendors. And so those time frames, could be anywhere from a few weeks to a few months. And so it's kind of the nature of what we're dealing with right now, but we're trying to hone in on it now that people are coming back from COVID situations. I hope that helps.
It does. It helps a lot. And then if I can shoot one more question, I
Of course,
apologize.
please, please,
What's
please.
What's the difference between park maintenance and then the landscaping contract? Because it seems like there's some overlap. Um,
That's a great question. So so the parks themselves, we have a contractor, RP Landscape and Irrigation, that does the landscaping maintenance. So they're the contractor that does the maintenance of the mowing, the edging, the planters, some minor trimming of the trees, picking up the trash. So that kind of all encompasses the landscape, the maintenance of the landscape. And so they're doing that inside of the parks. And so hopefully that answers maybe a little bit of that question.
yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
That was my questions. Thank you, guys.
Anytime.
Jennifer, do you have any questions or concerns?
Yes, I do. Okay. So on facility maintenance, page 19. When we say the hard surface areas, these areas include like tennis courts, handball courts, basketball courts, bicycle trails, etc. Does this also include like the skate parks areas? Just for clarification purposes.
So from my experience, and I know Jim can go ahead and chime on to this. So on the hardscapes in the skateboard park, I think you're talking about Blair Park, maybe?
Yes.
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways that we partner up in overseeing that. One is, as you know, there's a lot of graffiti that goes on there at the skate park, and so it's kind of a balancing act regarding the graffiti part. So we can go there and spray paint over the graffiti, especially if it's like a vulgar and things like that. You know, we try to get to that. But then what happens is that the very next day, the guys are, you know, whoever's, you know, vandalizing the area with spray paint come back the very next day. And so we, staffing wise, because we're barely coming out of, you know, being kind of lean and mean when the city was having some economic difficulties. Just so you know, I have 2 gentlemen for the entire city. So that's parks, streets, right of way, you know, parkways, wherever there's graffiti inside of the city. And so the turnaround time can be a challenge, and it has been a challenge. Thankfully, once we get a CRM that comes in regarding, say, graffiti, our turnaround time, you know, we've been kind of averaging, you know, about a week. But then, you know, again, it'll happen again. And so we're constantly chasing the bad guys. As far as blowing, maybe dirt and debris that might be in there, I believe that's something that our partnership with RP, that they are on an ongoing basis. If there's issues of debris being built up or not being taken care of, again, please let us know. We want to respond to those items.
Andy, is that two maintenance employees for the entire city?
Regarding for graffiti only, on the graffiti, yeah. One thing I could share with you guys, which is pretty exciting, is that the city council recently approved for me to add a 3rd person to the graffiti team, and that's going to help us out a lot. So it's a maintenance worker 2 position, and they're going to be split up between signs and graffiti. So, you know, even having a person half of the time is a big win for us. And so, you know, that's a little bit of good news. So we've been stretched thin for so long. And so it's again, a blessing to have that person come on board. We're hoping in the next 2 months.
Okay, great. Hope we can see some improvements soon.
And Commissioner Sakara, just to circle back with the skate park issues. What we've really ended up having to do to avoid retribution from, say, the skating groups that are out there, is really kind of work in conjunction with them and come to some level of agreement that, you know, while we see things as graffiti, they don't necessarily view it as graffiti as much as they do, you know, their personal art and really their it's kind of just their culture, you know. So we have worked with those kinds of groups in the past, and the group at Blair has been, you know, relatively cooperative in making sure that the areas that extend above the pool area out there are kept, you know, free of graffiti. Obviously, you get kids that sometimes come along and do things that they're not supposed to do, but you know, we've come to a certain level of agreement with them that if they keep it within reason and within the pool area, we'll work with them. But if it gets outside that area and starts to become visible by the park users or becomes vulgar or offensive or anything like that, that we're going to go in there and take care of it. But we found that, you know, just going in there and covering up their stuff and changing what really is their portion of the park, it led to more problems around that skate park, you know, vandalism of certain things, and not to point the finger and say that they were doing it or anything, but we did figure out that working with them and allowing them, giving them a little bit of flexibility and giving them a little bit of rope worked in our favor. So again, like Andy said, if you come across something that obviously, you know, is offensive or shouldn't be there, we'll get out and wrap and take care of that right away. But, you know, the stuff that's in the pool that's, you know, skate environment related, we try to work with them to allow them a little bit of flexibility on that.
Okay, thank you for clarifying, and I would love to meet with them soon too. So
yeah, that'd be great.
Mm-hmm. Okay, and I do have another question regarding like COVID-19 concerns. So as far as in like the cleaning products and disinfecting products, how do we ensure that the contractor is using like EPA registered products specifically, you know, for COVID, and also, you know, safe for children? Because it seems like it's very like open, like it's really up to the contractors.
Yeah, I think pre-COVID, because the agreement was written some time ago, you know, the COVID situation has obviously changed how we all think about life. And so that's a great question. You know, what I can do is get with the contractor and say, hey, you know what, let's verify what you're using. And I can have the inspectors make sure that they're keeping, you know, good accountability on that. I do know that we have great partners within our contractors that they're not going to use anything that's going to bring harm to our community. But we could probably step up a little bit of how we oversee that. When it comes to, say, playgrounds and slides and things like that, I do have staff that go over there and make sure that they're cleaned. We can't, at this point, because we don't have a budget that's unlimited, you know, we can't go each time and disinfect, you know, every hour or something like that, you know. But we can go over there and get a schedule going so that, you know, we're doing the best that we can. And I think that's probably the best effort that we can do at this point.
Okay, no, absolutely. You know, I'm just trying to provide some oversight. You know,
Yeah.
I work at a park every day, so these are where my concerns are deriving from. And also, you talked about the cleaning schedule. Can we make that like available, maybe on the website or in your public, so that way we can also, you know, hold them accountable as well?
Yeah, I think that maybe what we can do is, if you're okay with it, in a general sense, you know, kind of give a general kind of timeline that each month, you know, staff does X, Y, Z. And so maybe if we can start there on a baby step, that would help us, you know, if you're okay with that.
Yes, definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great questions, by the way. Great questions.
Thank you. Well, that's all for me.
Yeah.
Hello, Commissioner, do you have anything?
I'm sorry, was that for me? I couldn't hear you.
Do you have any questions or concerns about the?
Yes, sir. Actually, I do. So underneath edging and weed control,
Yes,
it
sir.
says that chemicals shall be recommended and approved by Parks Maintenance Division staff prior to use. And do we have like a list available of those chemicals already being used for weed control and edging?
Yes, we can provide that to you. I can get that from our contractor. Just so you know, Commissioner, that's a great question because our contractors have a license to spray that they hold through the state, and so they have it labeled. They have all the information on the safety guidelines. And so we can get that over to you if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
I had another question underneath facility maintenance. For general facility maintenance, it says all parks and sports equipment shall be inspected for vandalism, safety hazards, and serviceability daily. Deficiencies shall be reported in writing immediately to the Parks Department staff. Is that report coming from the contractor, or is that report coming from like constituents calling in, or where is that report coming from?
Yeah, so most of our reporting will come in from either our inspector of the park and or the constituents saying, hey, there's something wrong here. And so maybe just for clarification, in the 30 plus parks that we have, I have 2 inspectors for the entire city. And so sometimes if they don't see something because they're concentrated on, an irrigation repair or some other items, whenever information does come in, those reports are brought to the city's attention. And then we then make an action plan to respond to that.
Okay. As commissioners, are we able to make that report?
Of course. And so
We encourage that.
Yeah.
You guys,
Okay.
you guys are our help, our eyes and ears. I've asked to add a couple of part-time positions just for that. I've titled them a little bit differently, but one of the advantages of bringing these 2 part-time positions on board is to help us get more eyes out in the park and have park staff, recreation staff that's visiting the sports courts on a daily basis to lock and unlock them, but not just to lock and unlock them, but to bring information back to us, stating there's a tennis net that needs to be repaired or replaced, or the nets on the basketball courts. That's a challenge for us. Like Andy said, since we were cut so deeply in our staffing levels, that's an obvious area where we've noticed we really need to improve on. And that's where I would hope that any of you as a commissioner feel comfortable enough in your position to just reach out directly to either myself or Andy and say, look, maybe this was an oversight, but we've got this deficiency in a park. Is there some way that we can address that? So any input you guys can give is definitely welcomed and helpful, for sure.
Always.
Okay. Thank you. And one last question about restrooms. The contractor is responsible for maintenance of equipment and supplies required to operate restrooms, but most restrooms in the parks are closed. So are those restrooms going to be opening back up, or is this duty going to be taken off of their duties because it's required for them to do, but the restrooms are closed?
Yeah, I could pass it over to Jim to see when the COVID restrictions are completely kind of removed. So would you like to address that, Jim?
Yeah, we're getting close to being in a position to open those back up. I will say though that we some of our restrooms are closed. And I'll give a good example. Meadowbrook Park over here on 2nd and Sierra. Those restrooms are closed simply because we just don't have the ability to stay on top of the maintenance because of the activity that goes on in there. We've got individuals that are continually trying to not vandalize, but get access to the water sources in there. They're flushing items down the toilet, activities going on in there that we just can't, we can't provide oversight 24/7 to keep the activity from going on in there. But I mean, and I'll leave it to your imagination what type of activity I'm talking about. But there's certain areas where we have that challenge that we have to overcome. But some of the other areas where the restrooms are functional, we're in a position now where if it's a facility that we can be confident in that the activity in there is going to be acceptable to the public at large, let's say, we're in a position where we can open those back up. So I'll work with Andy because the maintenance and upkeep of those falls pretty squarely on his division's shoulders. But at this point, we can start to work towards opening the ones that we're capable of opening and starting to work on some repairs on a lot of the restrooms that are in disrepair right now. So that was a request from a council member at the last council meeting as well. So we're actively looking at what that reopening plan is going to entail.
Okay, thank you. That's all for my questions for today.
Commissioner Aldridge?
No questions at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I had one quick question or concern. So as far as watering the parks, is there anybody that's actively seeking out other ways? Because there's some drought resistant grass that's out there, or it's actually like a fertilizer. There's microbes that connect to the roots and stuff, and they require the grass to take up less water. Or do we have anybody like take a look at that to save us money for the city, or maybe be able to water more?
Yeah, I can tell you this: we are moving in the direction of getting a handle and a control on our irrigation controllers first. And what I mean by that is that currently the city is basically using old controllers, and so we don't know when they're vandalized. We don't know when there's breaks. We find out the next day, if you know what I mean. And so so I'm happy to share with you that council approved about actually it was $25,000 for us to install some smart irrigation controllers at Paris Hill. And so we're going to actually use that. It's going to be the first, if you would, remote monitoring irrigation controller. And that's going to enable us to have staff to more accurately assess how much time really does the irrigation need to be turned on for and then turned off. And if there's a break, an automatic shut off. And so, so it's kind of connected to your question, if you would. We will be moving in the direction in the coming, months and years and looking into more in-depth resources of what you just mentioned, so that we could better feed our turf and be able to do that. I haven't been able to get in depth on that just yet, but we're hoping to get there in the future.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, thank you everybody for your questions and concerns. Thank you. Okay. Jim, do you want to go on with the staff report?
Yeah, I'll take it from here. So going down to the director's oral report, I'll start with what's on the agenda as our outdoor recreation plan. What our department, what the recreation division has done in response to COVID-19 and coming out of COVID, we really, not just in our city, but in our industry across the country, there's been, as you guys have probably noticed, an overwhelming increase in the demand for outdoor recreation and activities. All the way, I mean, if you go out to Blair Park on a Saturday or you go to Delman Heights on a Saturday, they're just inundated with people. What we haven't been able to do over the past several years is to respond to that need and provide more amenities that are suited for outdoor activity. So with our outdoor recreation plan, we're putting together, and I'll present that to you once it's complete, which should be by the next commission meeting. We're really focusing on convert or renovating our outdoor court surfaces. So, and I'll touch on that when we get to our project update, because we've already implemented one and are getting ready to go to council for another. But making sure that our outdoor recreation space is in good condition, good repair, and available to the public. Expanding on the availability of outdoor recreation and fitness equipment. So we're going to be purchasing some more outdoor exercise equipment and placing those in parks that already have established walkways. So Littlefield Schultes Park is one that's really active. We've been looking at where the most activity that relates to outdoor fitness is taking place. Blair Park, Littlefield Schultes, Ann Sherrills has a concrete walking path. So along those walking paths, we're going to be installing outdoor fitness equipment similar to what is at Bobby Vega Park and Lytle Creek Park now. So that'll give the opportunity for our residents to stay outside, not have to go indoors, go to a gym, those types of things. Those opportunities will exist for them from a fitness standpoint at several more of our parks all over the city. So geographically, they'll be accessible to the public at large. We're also doing some outdoor gaming stuff that's again, I'll touch on that in our project update because we've already started some of that stuff as well. We're purchasing some gaming equipment for our community centers that can be taken outside. So I'm sure you've seen the large, oversized chess games and checkers, Connect Four. So we can take our kids, and instead of keeping them inside in an atmosphere that's not conducive to the direction that we're going as far as gathering indoors, we'll be able to take those kids outside and have outdoor games, those types of things for them. So that's what our outdoor recreation plan will be addressing. And like I said, I'll present that to you guys at the next commission meeting, so you guys are aware of what it is we're doing. And then recreation events. Vanessa, do you want to touch on what we got going on in the community center?
Sure. Good afternoon, commissioners. So as our community centers, we have officially opened our outdoor areas for outdoor programming. So there's either an arts and craft type based program, or there's a fitness type program. And they alternate between like a Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. They're all in the afternoons because, students or youth are still in school, even if they're at home, virtual based. So the earliest would be like a 2:30 or 3 o'clock start time. So some sites like Rubin Campos, they have a 4 o'clock and a 5 o'clock start because we have to break up. They're all registration based because we have to limit the amount per group and the ratio per staff and the participants. It also allows for us to create social distancing among the participants. So every program that we have in place is we're following CDC guidelines. Everyone has to wear a face mask, hand sanitizer, or wash your hands if that is available. All the equipment and items are all disinfected and cleaned before, during, and after. And there's very minimal to little of sharing of equipment or supplies. And a lot of things are based off of the age in regards to the programming. And then with our youth sports program, we have currently we have like football on Mondays and Wednesdays at Laurel Creek Park, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays is a fitness camp up at Algoin Park, or next to Bergamot Community Center. So for the month of May, we are doing volleyball and t-ball, and then June we're planning basketball and another fitness program as well. We're going to try to incorporate a family fitness on a Saturday, so that we're getting the whole family together to come outside to a park and do any type of little physical fitness type of activities: jump roping, hula hooping, ladders, hurdles, the big box where you kind of jump up. So the programs are based off of that, and then we're looking into in the planning process of getting our indoor programming ready to go. So when we get that green light to open our doors, at a small capacity, we'll be prepared for that. In addition, we are working on some events, outdoor movies in the park. As well as next Saturday, the 24th, will be Arbor Day and Earth Day revitalization at Paris Hill Park. And that's going to be on next Saturday, the 24th, from 9 to 1. And an informational flyer will be sent to you via email once after today's meeting. So we're looking for volunteers. It's a beautification of Paris Hill. We have mulch and compost giveaway for the community. Shred It, which is a shredding company, will be out there with the truck, so households can come and provide documents, and they could see it on site getting shredded in front of their eyes. And we know some community members get a little hesitant of confidential documents, but this is safe, confident, very secure, and it's free. For our community members. We'll also have some oil recycling containers and stuff to be given out, and of course the beautification of the park, and trash pickup, and cleaning up some graffiti, any painting if needed, the playground kind of mulch spreading out and cleaning of the playground and whatnot. So like I said, information will be sent out, and if you share that information with your community members, and if they're wanting to come out and volunteer, to get in contact with us so that we can get them connected on that day. So that's what we have right now.
All right, and moving along, I'll take the senior services events and programs. We have had great success with our pickleball play over at Paris Hill Park. We've been up around 100 participants for the events that we've had, and we're planning another one now. So that'll be taking place here pretty soon. Our senior meal program is continuing to serve. We're probably going to hit about 48,000 meals this year. We're on pace to hit that number. The county has actually again reached out to us, and they're going to be providing some additional funding, not additional funding, but they're going to be giving us all of our funding at the beginning of the year, instead of splitting it up and doing a mid-year distribution like they did before. So that'll be helpful. And then we have a renovation project that's going to be taking place at 5th Street Senior Center. I believe that starts, it looks to me like the start of that is going to be in July. What we're in the process of doing now, because 5th Street is our site that we do all the meal prep for our senior meal program. So what we're in the process of doing now is making sure that the Paris Hill Senior Center kitchen can accommodate the prep work that needs to be done. Our facilities, I met with our facilities group over there today. There's a couple of things that they need to fix prior to the 5th Street Senior Center shutting down, but we'll be moving all of the entire senior meal prep program, which is really the heart and soul of our senior nutrition program. That'll be moving over to Paris Hill for the term of the renovation project at Fifth Street Senior Center. And what that does is it allows us to completely vacate the Fifth Street Senior Center, and then the contractor can get in and more efficiently effectuate that project. So what they'll be doing there is they're going to be at the Fifth Street Senior Center. They're going to be replacing all of the flooring throughout the entire facility. So all of the carpet, all of the hard floor surfaces are going to be replaced. They're going to be repainting the inside of the building, all of the walls, and they're going to be doing some paint work on the outside of the building. That's a exposed aggregate block building, so they won't be doing any painting on that. But there is some wood facades and stuff on the outside. So it's going to completely change that entire facility, as with Delman Heights. Delman Heights Community Center is actually that project will take place prior to the Fifth Street Senior Center. That one's getting ready to start towards the end of this month. So there'll be some really significant changes in both of those facilities.